HubSpot versus Pipedrive. I've worked in both HubSpot and Pipedrive for many years, both as my job, but also as a consultant. And I've helped many clients with both HubSpot and with Pipedrive. Let me take a look at these two tools and help you decide where each of these might fit in your plans and for your organization, whether HubSpot or Pipedrive might be the best choice. Before we get too deep into this, let me cover just the main difference between these two tools. HubSpot is a complete operating system to run your entire business off of. I mean, it's maybe not a complete operating system. You can't run your accounting and finance function out of HubSpot, but it's more and more an entire operating system. It has tools around customer service and around marketing and around sales. It has all of that. Anything that's customer facing, it has it. Whereas Pipedrive is laser focused on moving deals forward. And from that perspective, they're very different tools. They're both CRMs. They both have deal boards. They both can keep track of contacts and companies, and they can both send marketing email. They all do a lot of those basic functions both really well. Pipedrive is just a little more purpose built. But as simple as Pipedrive is, it's not something that you can just say, oh, well, I like the deal board better in Pipedrive, and then make your decision based on that. So there are 11 categories that I use as CRM coach to look at CRMs, to look at these different platforms. And let's go through each of these different areas and rate HubSpot and rate Pipedrive and go through them one by one, and we can see which one comes out the winner in the end. So first of all is pipeline management. Pipedrive, this is going to be a win for Pipedrive, but mostly just because this is what Pipedrive does. They both have visual Kanban boards. They both have drag and drop. They both have deal rotting, or inactive cards. HubSpot has all those same things. One way of saying this is that the pipeline is the product of Pipedrive. That's the main thing you're getting. With HubSpot, it's one of many tools within an entire platform. Let's dive in and take a look at each of these, how they look, and you can get a sense of how they're both pretty comparable. But Pipedrive's, this is front and center. Click on deals over here and you can see your deal pipeline, and you can easily move deals from one stage to the next. You can see these little colors, little icons that help give you a really at a glance view of where these deals are, what the next step is. Green means there's something due today. Yellow means there's anything scheduled. Red means it's past due. And this is great for pipeline management. One of the most important things with reps is, do all of your deals have a next step? And activities and Pipedrive is the way they do. In HubSpot, they do that as well. And you can see here that, there's a meeting in 18 hours with this one. There's a meeting in 2 days with this one. Added a note 3 hours ago with Atlas Fleet here in just the demo. And so they're both pretty similar. And some of this might come down to more about which one you like better, just going off of aesthetics. But as far as the functionality, they're both going to be pretty close. They both have some pretty advanced automation that's available within, if you move a deal to this stage, then trigger this automation, that kind of stuff, you can do them both. But the reason that Pipedrive gets the edge here is that this is the product. When you log into Pipedrive, this is what you're going to see, and it brings it more front and center, whereas you can click into CRM and then click on deals in HubSpot, and you'll find the deals over here, and you can pin this and add it to the bookmark, and then it can show up here. It's one layer deeper inside the product. The next one matters a lot for small teams, especially if you're going to be doing marketing, and that is marketing automation. And here I'm going to give HubSpot a 9. If HubSpot's not a 10, then what is a 10? HubSpot is really good here. They have email sequences, automations, landing pages, lead scoring. They have some AI scoring. This is really good. They have automated workflows. They have everything. And it's, considering the power of it, it's also extremely easy to use. If you've ever used enterprise marketing automation, then you know how difficult some of that can be. And in HubSpot, it tends to be pretty intuitive. And there are a lot of little things built into HubSpot to make it easier to use and to make sure that you're not making mistakes when you're doing marketing automation kind of work. But Pipedrive has these tools too, and it's called campaigns, and it's an add-on. And so if you had maybe 10,000 contacts, I don't know, you might still end up paying a few $100s a month to have it added to Pipedrive, and it's going to be a lot less feature rich than HubSpot. But if you want to send a newsletter, occasional marketing blast, carve out a segment of your contacts to send an email to, Pipedrive can still do that. But HubSpot, this isn't up for debate. HubSpot crushes it with marketing automation. Next up is ease of use. And this one can be a little more subjective. I think that Pipedrive is as easy as it gets. When we're working, especially with sales teams, if we're going to focus on that side of things where you have reps going in to keep track of their deals and keep track of their contacts, keep track of their communications, potential customers, potential clients, then there's chances of them loving it are almost zero. But if it were to be easy to use, I think Pipedrive right now, even though it might look a little dated in the age of AI, it still is the best that's out there. There's some that look a little more modern, but under the surface, Pipedrive really is just, it gives you what you need and nothing else. That's the only knock on HubSpot, is that there can be a lot there and it can feel overwhelming, but I don't think it's that much different than like Microsoft Word. Most anybody can get into Microsoft Word, make a document, save it, print it, email it, and they're going to be fine. Even though there are a lot of features in Microsoft Word, for example, that, you know, you might be doing watermarks or fancy page number things or doing multiple columns in a document. And most people don't touch those things, and it's behind the scenes and it's fine. And so, but the power's there in case you need it. And HubSpot is definitely more powerful than Pipedrive, but it comes at a little bit of a cost of maybe some of your team might feel a little more overwhelmed logging into HubSpot and seeing just a lot more options of what they're able to do. Pipedrive definitely is more purpose built, and that allows it to be a little easier to use. All right, so setup and onboarding. I mentioned some onboarding fees here on the screen, and I don't think that's a big deal. Like if you have a sales team paying, even if it was several $1,000s of onboarding, shouldn't make a big difference if it's the right tool for you. But it kind of does go to show that there's a lot more to set up with HubSpot. You have landing pages and marketing automation things and email domain sending things need to be set up to make sure you have deliverability with HubSpot's email servers, etc. And that there's some of that can exist in Pipedrive too. Pipedrive is going to be quicker to set up, just because there's less to set up, not necessarily because HubSpot is making things hard. It's just that there's more in HubSpot to do. And so if those don't apply to you, then that's a reason you might want to pick Pipedrive. AI and automation, Spot is pushing a lot harder on that front compared to Pipedrive. Pipedrive has added some of that, of course, and they can help you write emails and that kind of thing. But HubSpot, they have prospecting agents. They have customer support agents. Their Breeze tool has gotten very good at doing, say you want to add a new property to HubSpot. You can just tell it what you want to do, or you can say, I want to add, in this dropdown, I want all the years from 2000 to 2030 is one I used recently, and it just did it. And so HubSpot is leaning into that more. But the future of AI is going to be really hard to predict, and it might turn out that HubSpot's internal AI doesn't even matter because we're all using something else to overlay on top of our CRM. Next, let's talk about some customization. In both HubSpot and Pipedrive, you can customize what shows up. This is a deal record, for example, and you can customize what shows up here. HubSpot can take it to even another level where you can have completely custom objects in HubSpot. Some of that is going to require an enterprise level subscription, but there's the kind of things that if you want an extremely custom CRM, you're going to be able to do it with HubSpot, but some of those things are going to be really difficult to do in Pipedrive. If your data model is simple and you have contacts, companies or organizations, and you have deals and maybe some activities that you're tracking, then that isn't going to matter to you. And both are going to do a good job. Maybe you have a few custom fields to add and you're good. But if there's a lot of complexity that you're trying to add where you have parent-child relationships or you have custom objects in your business, then you're going to want to go with HubSpot or maybe look at some other more enterprise level option. But one of the reasons now that this might not matter as much is something I'm seeing a lot of companies work on is keeping the CRM really stripped down so that it's just the basics. And then some of those custom workflows or what happens after someone becomes a customer or we have a closed deal, some of that delivery or operations side of the business might run in a custom coded app, AI assisted. We were able to build something out that's extremely bespoke to you and then sync back just the basics into the CRM. He helps keep track of customer communications. It's pulling in emails. You call out of it and it tracks, maybe it pulls in your phone calls. That can all live in the CRM, but then the business's workflow that can be extremely custom might live in a totally different application. A few years ago, I might have said, you need to go something with HubSpot. But now you might say, well, we're going to strip down the CRM to just the essentials anyway, just enough to kind of track basic sales activity and send marketing blasts, for example. And if that's all you're going to use it for, then Pipedrive can do that too. And then you're going to have all that custom workflow, custom business logic live in your own, it's an app that is built just for your company. Then that's something to consider. But fully building out your own CRM is still something that's you're biting off a lot more when it comes to email sending, keeping that simple, email syncing and calendar syncing. Some of these things are going to require a lot of lift from even your most savvy AI developer. If you have one of those on your team by chance, probably having them do something that's special to your business is going to be more valuable as opposed to doing something like syncing everyone's email activity and collecting it all, or having calendar invites, etc. Like stuff like that all sync into your CRM and show last activity date, etc. Like that kind of stuff, you're probably going to get a lot better return on investment by leaning on companies that have already built that and have entire teams of people to audit that and continue to fix things as Microsoft's or Google's APIs are always changing. Maybe there's a long future where that doesn't matter, but as of right now, that's something that I think would be a very special use case where you want to build that complete from scratch. There's very rare situations where you're not going to have some type of CRM, even if you're going the custom business workflow, custom app that's built just for your business. But before I go too deep into that, let's talk about integrations real quick. Integrations are getting a little bit easier to custom code, but definitely whenever you can have a native integration, you are going to be a lot better off. This is an area where HubSpot definitely wins. They have a much more robust ecosystem. Pipedrive's been catching up. Zapier or tools like that do a good job of connecting with Pipedrive. I've done a lot of that work myself with Pipedrive and had a good experience. I'm still just going to give HubSpot the win, not because there's things that aren't possible with Pipedrive, but just that out of the box, HubSpot's going to get you a little further. Let's touch on company stability real quick. If you're going to build your entire business on something like a CRM that's difficult to rip out, difficult to change, you're putting a lot of your data in there. I'm going to give HubSpot the win here. They are a public company that has a long history and they're worth billions of dollars. Drive is private and has been recently purchased by private equity. I don't think they're doing a bad job, but I also don't think they're doing a great job of putting a lot of resources into growing Pipedrive. So it's still a very well-established company. HubSpot is a little more US centric. Pipedrive, I think a lot of their team is based in Europe. I've always had a good experience with Pipedrive, and my contacts with Pipedrive have been in the United States. But maybe give HubSpot the edge there, but just barely. So pricing. A lot of people, when I talk to people about their CRM and which direction they should go and whether HubSpot is the choice or not, this is the impression, that the entry price looks low, but then the bill grows when you add contacts. That is true, but it's only because I think in contrast it looks that way because HubSpot has some very low priced entry level plans that are actually pretty generous. And if you end up adding everything that HubSpot has to offer, it can become quite a bit more expensive than Pipedrive. You can easily spend thousands of dollars a month on HubSpot, but if it is a core piece of your business that you rely on, it's less than probably like half of your average salesperson that you're paying per year just on this software that everyone uses every day. I don't think that pricing is because it's not a good value. HubSpot is a great value, and Pipedrive is a good value too. In some cases, I think HubSpot might be a better value because on the lower end plans, you don't get as much as Pipedrive, but on a low end HubSpot plan, you actually still get a lot for very little. In a lot of cases, HubSpot's a better value, but the reason why I mark them significantly different in my experience of using both and paying for both and having clients on both and having been in charge of it when I've been an employee is that HubSpot can just end up feeling like it's less transparent and that there's more hoops to jump through. And if you want to cancel, it's a little more of an enterprise level pricing agreement, whereas Pipedrive feels more like pure software as a service. It's easy to start, easy to stop. Pipedrive, you can sign up and not talk to anybody. HubSpot, you can too, but if you're on the professional level plans and you need onboarding, you're probably talking to a sales rep and you feel like you're maybe engaged in a little more of a negotiation. And so from an ease of understanding the pricing, Pipedrive is a lot simpler, and that's why it wins here. But not necessarily because Pipedrive is necessarily a lot better value. Just want to make that distinction. All right, so analytics and reporting. So this is an area where a long time ago, HubSpot was not as good and people would say, oh, you need Salesforce or something. But now HubSpot's reporting is so good. They have cross-object reporting. They have AI that helps you build your reports. Building even the craziest reports in HubSpot is possible. You can put together anything you want. Pipedrive, though, I've run into problems many times because Pipedrive doesn't have the ability to report on what I want to report. It'd be, if you run through the statistics, the analytics that you want, and you list them out, Pipedrive can probably do it. And it's probably not going to matter, but if there are some calculated objects or something fancy that you want out of your reporting, Pipedrive might make it a little more difficult. And even still, in today's day and age, you can get Zapier or something to help you run those reports, or you might have a tool that plugs into Pipedrive or HubSpot anyway, and that's where you run your reports. And so, but it's definitely something to look at, and I would definitely give the HubSpot the win here. All right, product roadmap. HubSpot has been adding stuff like crazy. They hold an event every year. If you think of like Apple releasing the iPhone every year, HubSpot holds Inbound every year, and they have a spotlight that comes out every year of like, here's all of our new stuff. And they are pretty ambitious, and a lot of their tools are very good right out of the gate. Like Data Studio is one we released recently that I love in HubSpot, and that's fairly recent. And Pipedrive, I feel like, is a lot more timid about adding new things. They only recently added sequences, maybe a couple of years ago when HubSpot had them for a long time. HubSpot definitely wins on product roadmap, but part of what you're getting if you choose Pipedrive, though, is you're getting something that just works and is simple. And they're probably not going to redo everything underneath your feet anytime soon. HubSpot is also, in 10 years, stayed pretty similar in a lot of ways, but they have added a lot of new functionality over that time. And that is probably going to continue to be the case. And let's talk through pricing. So let's say you're still watching this and you're like, all right, so like, what are they going to cost? So this is, if I were to go through like 5 people with marketing, and I have another video if you're more interested in Pipedrive Lite or HubSpot starter packages, but this is assuming that you have a sales team and you want the marketing functionality. You're going to pay more than double with HubSpot. A lot of these prices are going to change. Do not quote me on any of these prices. This is just a rough idea for 5 people with marketing, which you might be paying. On the left, you have Marketing Hub, which the professional and sales pro, those are really great tools to have. And there's a lot of functionality that you're going to run into with HubSpot where it feels like, the criticism of HubSpot that you start out cheap, but then it ends up expensive. This is where, you're finally hitting, a decent, software as a service spend with HubSpot, because you're going to need maybe some of the automation that's available in here, or there's some sales pro tools that your sales team wants to use. And this is what it'll look like. Whereas Pipedrive on the right, as you're looking at Pipedrive Premium, which comes with a lot of cool options. And Pipedrive, as you can see, it has the premium option highlighted in green. And that really is where I see most companies with sales teams end up, is in that level of Pipedrive. When you think about it as this is a tool that is going to run your entire customer facing side of your business, your salespeople are in your everyday, I wouldn't make this decision based on just price. So here's what I would make the decision based on. I would choose HubSpot if you need marketing, sales, and customer service all together. And maybe customer service, depending on your business, you don't think of it that way. I wouldn't worry about that one. But if you want marketing and sales together, HubSpot's the one. If you have some more custom needs, then it used to be that HubSpot was the choice. But in today's day and age, you might want to just custom code something and then use whatever CRM as your CRM and keep it stripped down to just the essentials of what a CRM needs. And if you have a lot of custom objects and that kind of thing, that might be a better choice than choosing HubSpot and then customizing all that in HubSpot, if that makes sense. But Pipedrive is straight to the point. You're not settling for less. I think it's like you have a discipline for Pipedrive does fewer things, but it does it really well. It does a pipeline really well. It does activity tracking really well. It does deal management really well. It works by getting out of your way. And probably has a little bit of an edge with adoption, which is one of the things that matters the most, is which one is your team really going to use? All right. And last, let's look at so we take all these things we talked about into consideration, put these scores together, and which tool comes out ahead. I'm going to give HubSpot the edge on average for most companies with sales teams. And it would have been higher even just a year or two ago. But now thinking about what is the core of CRM and how well does it do that? Pipedrive does a great job at that. And you might have other tools or custom coded things that do some of the fancier other things, or what happens after we sell something. What does that process look like? And maybe keeping that somewhere else outside of your CRM. And so they're a little closer than they would have been before. But as you're trying to figure all this out, something I'd invite you to do is take the CRM Coach assessment, and it'll help you walk through your top priorities and figure out what is most important to you in your situation. And reach out if you have any questions. Hope this overview of HubSpot versus Pipedrive helped out. Anything I missed, let me know in the comments.